Welcome to the F Sharp Podcast, presented by Harmony Wealth, a podcast geared to educate you on all things financial. Co-hosts Tanner Bortnam and Adam Henning discuss various financial topics presented in a consumable and entertaining manner. Tanner is a certified financial planner, JD, and financial expert, while Adam is a marketing professional and small business owner. It's time to harmonize. Sit back and enjoy the episode. Your future self will thank you.
Welcome to episode 43 of the F Sharp Podcast, presented by Harmony Wealth, a podcast geared to educate you on all things financial. I'm your co-host, Adam Henning, marketing professional and small business owner, and I'm joined as always with co-host Tanner Bortnam. Tanner is a certified financial planner, JD, and industry expert. If you are listening to us in podcast form, subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, find the subscribe button below, hit the bell so you get notified when we release new episodes. We've been pretty good about releasing a new episode every other week, going on almost 2 years now, so that is our regular cadence. Finally, we want to hear from you. No question is a dumb one or a silly one. Send in your questions or suggestions for a future episode by emailing us at podcast@financiallysharp.com. That's podcast@financiallysharp.com. Hopefully, we get enough content questions to hopefully do a mailbag episode maybe in the near future. So that would be fun. I mean, even if you're on YouTube, leave a comment below if you want it to be public. So if you're comfortable with that. Episode 43, today's topic, or this episode's topic, I should say, is a topic we've hit on before. We're revisiting a topic. Episode 5, we covered Roth conversions. So we are going to revisit that topic, and there's a reason why, and I'm going to let Tanner talk about that.
Yeah, well, you know, as our avid listeners know, Roth conversions are near and dear to my heart, or just Roth in general, anything to do with the Roth right now based on where taxes are. But just wanted to bring this one back, you know, up to the top and go over, some of the topics again with dealing with Roth conversion, some of the aspects of it, since, you know, episode 5 would have been 2021 when we did that last time. So a couple years ago, roughly. And, you know, again, bring this back to the forefront. There is some urgency again, as always. Check with your financial advisor that you're working with, or do research for yourself to see if this is something that fits for your situation. But for most of my clients, again, most, not all, but most of my clients, it is something that is beneficial. So that tends to lead to most of you out there, it could be beneficial or likely would be beneficial as well. But definitely something you want to check into, because we are getting closer to that deadline, which is the end of 2025, which is a really key point in terms of taxes.
And whenever you say that word, my brain immediately just shrivels. And taxes, ew.
Yeah, well, they're gross. And like we've said before, it's like onions, right? There's so many layers that you don't even know all of them. And once you start looking at it and cutting into it, you cry.
Yeah, that's why I pay someone to do that. And then I have you
That's right.
to tell me about the advantages and how to avoid them. So let's start kind of from the basics here. In episode 5, probably got a little bit more in depth into the structure of what a Roth conversion is. But I think we're going to start and quickly just not gloss over, but just for a 30,000 foot view of what a Roth conversion is.
Yep. Just a quick refresher on that. Roth conversion is taking money that is in a pre-tax account. So typically that's a traditional IRA or the traditional side of a 401k, and moving that to the Roth side. So you pay the taxes now, you move it over to the Roth side, never pay taxes on that money or the growth again. So the Roth conversion is literally just that. You're moving pre-tax money, paying the taxes now so that it can be in your Roth IRA or Roth 401k.
And anybody can do that, correct? Anytime?
Yeah. Yep. Any person. It's one of the benefits. I know we've obviously hit on Roth before in different episodes to contribute. So to put new money from your bank account into a Roth IRA, there are some income limitations. A Roth 401k does not have any income limitations to contribute, to put new money in. But to do a conversion, there's no income limitations. Any person can do it. You can do as much or as little as you want in any given year. Again, work with your professional, develop a plan, because there's clearly ramifications for doing a Roth conversion, and you don't want to just guess. You want to be working with someone that knows what's going on, because there's a lot of intricacies to it, but it's definitely again something that you should check out because it probably is of benefit to you.
Let's get into what you kind of teased earlier of why you would do a Roth conversion specifically, the timing of that date, 2025, and the sunsetting of some language there, but also just in general, give us why a Roth conversion is something we would consider.
Yeah. So let's start with the taxes. So I will kind of wrap that one up. So the tax cuts that went into effect in 2018, I think they was passed in 2017 and went into effect in 2018 through the Job and Tax Cut Act. Those are set. It's in the bill that was passed. They are set to sunset or expire at the end of 2025. So in 2026, we will have new taxes. Now, can Congress, I always get this question, can Congress change the rules before then? Sure, they certainly can. The likelihood of that is almost zero because we have a split Congress right now. So Republicans and Democrats are not going to agree on cutting or raising taxes because they all want different things. So high probability that our taxes stay exactly as they are until the end of 2025. The question is what happens in 2026 and going forward. There's two routes. Route number one is Congress does nothing. If that's the case, we then go back to the tax brackets that we had prior to 2018 and for most of the Obama administration, and every tax bracket with the exclusion of a couple, the lowest one and then the highest ones. But the middle class, where most everyone sits, your tax brackets are going to go up between 2 and 4%. So you make the same amount of money, you're in the third tax bracket. Right now, that's 22%. Well, that's going to be going to 25%. If you're in the fourth tax bracket, right now it's 24%. It's going to be going to 28%. So that's if Congress does nothing, that's automatically going to happen. Another wrinkle with that is the tax brackets are going to get compressed. So again, I don't want to walk through all of them. We'll just pick one out. For example, I had mentioned the 24%, so we'll just stick with that. If you are a married couple right now, roughly, that means you're making between $178,000 and $340,000. So pretty big range there to be in the 24% bracket. So in 2026, this bracket's going to go to 28%, not 24%. So you're automatically going to pay 4% more. Plus, they pinch it down, they squeeze it. So the bracket, instead of being 178 to 340, actually goes 168 to 256. So they're cutting off, almost $84,000 from the top. So they're pinching these down, which is going to force people into higher brackets, and they're doing it with almost all the brackets. So, you may have been in a bracket number 2 right now. Well, that you might get pushed into bracket number 3 because they're compressing. And again, that's if Congress does nothing. Option number 2, Congress passes a bill, which of course we have no idea what that would look like. because that's in the future. But the big key is the likelihood is that in 2026 we are going to see higher taxes. Wrapping in other episodes, we've talked about the debt. Obviously we've been going through this debt ceiling crisis. We've talked about the debt before. We did how much money that was. That was a fun episode. Putting that in terms of time. We have enormous amounts of debt. Well, the only way that government makes money is through taxes. So if we eventually want to start paying some of this, they're going to have to raise taxes. So why we're revisiting this is because in my mind, this is a really, really important planning opportunity for, again, everyone to at least look into and explore. But for most people, you can probably take advantage of this, do some Roth conversions, and pay lower taxes by paying that now rather than waiting to take money out of an IRA or a 401k 3+ years from now, and you're going to be paying more in taxes then.
Do they have an estimated dollar amount of how much the shuffling of tax brackets will yield?
No, I mean, not that I'm aware of. It might be out there, but I don't know that one off the top of my head.
Fun.
And then you were asking for kind of an analogy, if I remember correctly. That was kind of a 2-part intro of why do a Roth conversion.
Yep.
One of the things I talk with my clients about is think of your retirement account, a pre-tax retirement, not a Roth. So a traditional IRA or a 401k is you think it's just you, right? You have a 401k and that's your money. Well, it's not. You have a business partner, and that business partner is the IRS and the government. And the problem with that is the government can change the rules whenever they want. So Adam, if you and I are business partners and we agree that right now I'm a 24% business owner, and 3 years from now I come to you and I say, hey, I want 28 now. You'd tell me to take a long walk off a short pier, right? Because we agreed to 24. The problem is the government gets to do that. And we know that it's in play and going to happen. And even further down the road, they can increase taxes. I mean, we are in historically low taxes for pretty much every person that's alive right now. Taxes used to be a lot higher and they've come down. So that pendulum can swing and Congress can raise those taxes again. So now is an opportunity to buy out your business partner, the government, for a lower or the lowest rate that most of us have ever seen. Why would you not take advantage of that being on sale and an opportunity to buy that partner out at less value than waiting and doing nothing? And now you're going to be paying more in taxes and it costs you more. So that's the analogy I talk with a lot with my clients.
Yeah, it makes sense. So what are our next steps to make that buyout happen? What should we be doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of factors, as I alluded to at the top of the episode. You're definitely going to want to, if you do your own, it's a bunch of work, and you need to look into numerous factors. We'll go through some of them. The other one is, if you're working with someone, make sure that they know what they're doing, because as we're about to go through, there's a lot of pieces here that you need to analyze. It's not just, yep, I've heard of a Roth conversion, I can help. So some of the things that you need to look at, obviously we've hit on the benefit. Is this even a benefit to you, right? We've hit on the benefits of it: tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals later on in retirement, paying the taxes now in a lower tax environment. We've hit on that. Other
and
things.
That's unlimited, right? It's not capped.
What's unlimited?
The conversion.
Yes, but the conversion itself. So let's say you do, easy math, $100,000 in Roth conversion. That $100,000 is income to you this year. So you have to pay the taxes. Mm-hmm. So a conversion can push you into higher income brackets as well. So that's, again, why you have to analyze this, see where your income is, see where deductions are going to be. You kind of have to figure out your tax situation ahead of time and then do a Roth conversion because, again, talking with my clients, I don't mind jumping us from the 22% bracket into the 24% bracket. Whoop-de-doo, that's 2% more. Now, jumping from the 24% bracket into the 32% bracket, that's a big jump. You don't want to cross that. So you need to know, and strategize for this and don't just kind of willy-nilly it. So there are no, so you got to evaluate kind of whether this works for you. So as we alluded there, or we've talked about before, there are no income limits. Anyone can do this. So you can do as much as you want, but you got to pay taxes. What?
Right.
Go ahead.
You're strategizing so you can spread it over time. If you don't.
Yep.
So you don't hit that 10% increase or double
Correct.
step in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the plan too. We know we have 3 more years of current taxes. So, do as much as you can, but you can stack that, right? So if it's 100,000 that you want to do, well, try to do about 33, 34,000 a year. Boom, boom, boom. There, it's done in 3 years. You don't have to do it all in 1 year. You can do as much or as little as you want that fits your strategy and your plan. So that's kind of looking and evaluating your situation. The other thing you want to do is look at your time horizon, right? So how old are you? What's your financial plan look like? If you're a young person, there's some pros and cons, right? You have a lot longer runway before retirement to let that money grow tax-free. So that's a huge benefit to you because remember, all the growth in that account is tax-free as well. But one of the negatives of being younger is to do a Roth conversion. If you're under 59 and a half, you have to pay for the conversion pay the taxes on the conversion out of checking and savings. Whereas if you're over 59 and a half, you get an option where you can have it withheld on the conversion itself. Still not the best idea to do it, but it's an option for people over 59 and a half. If you are under 59 and a half, it's a 10% penalty if you do that. If you withhold on, so just don't even think of it as an option. That's why I tell all my clients that are under 59 and a half. It's not an option for us because we're not going to pay a 10% penalty to do this. That makes it not worth it. Now, if you're over 59 and a half, you can have taxes withheld on the conversion. It's not the best strategy. The best strategy is still to pay the taxes out of checking and savings. Save that up and pay for it. And the reason behind that is, again, let's just do some easy math. If you do a $100,000 conversion and you're in the 22% bracket, you're going to owe $22,000 in taxes. If you are able to pay for that $22,000 out of checking and savings, saving that up throughout the year, that means all $100,000 goes into the Roth and gets to grow tax-free. If you don't, and you take that out of the Roth conversion itself, now only $78,000 goes into the Roth and grows tax-free. So you don't have as much firepower in that Roth account, which is the single greatest type of account for someone to try to generate wealth because all of it's yours. You don't ever have to give any back to the government, including all of the gains. So you want to get as much into that account as possible. So that's why I say it's better to try to pay for all of it out of checking and savings. And even if you can't pay for all of it, pay for as much as you can and withhold as little as necessary on the conversion to get as much into the Roth as possible.
Is that just a bill that comes due tax time, or is that something that you can kind of do a payment plan? Is that a stupid question?
No, it's not. It's not a stupid question. It is due at tax time. So if you do, we're in end of May here while we're recording this. If you do a Roth conversion right now, at end of May 2023, it would count for 2023 income taxes, and you'd owe it when you file your taxes, February, March of 2024. So that's when you would need that money to be there to pay the taxes, for however much you did. Good question on that. Anything else on questions in regards to that? Otherwise, I have something else with people near retirement. All good?
No, sounds like a painful bill.
Yeah, well, it is, but you have to remember you're gonna pay that at some point, right? If you do the exact same thing and you're in and you do it in 2026, well, now instead of it being $22,000 in taxes, it's $25,000 in taxes to do the exact same thing. So you're at a minimum, you're saving 3% in taxes, plus you're gonna have 3 years worth of growth on that money that's all tax-free as well. Another factor for people who are near retirement, if you're 63 plus, you're close to Medicare. So you need to because Medicare will look at this and they look at your income. So you need to factor in any potential surcharges that may or may not play into your situation depending upon your income and how much you do in a conversion. If you are receiving Social Security, same thing. Social Security looks at your income to see how much of your Social Security is taxed. For most people, it's not going to matter. The thresholds for Social Security being taxed are so low. They were set in the first one is set in the 80s and the next one is set in the 90s. They have not been indexed for inflation. Most people are going to blow right through those, and 85% of your Social Security is going to be taxed at your income tax bracket. Like that just kind of is what it is now because they, for whatever reason, didn't index them for inflation. So that one's kind of less important, but still a factor you want to look at. So that's all, just kind of looking at what, the taxes would be. Do you have the capacity to pay for them? How are you going to pay for them? All the different factors that look at your income. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of things that need to be analyzed on that.
Yeah, takes some forecasting strategy to brace for that bill comes tax time. So
yeah, you definitely want to have a good plan. You like I said, you don't want to be just doing this willy-nilly. You want to be strategizing so that you can plan to try to save up that tax bill. You can plan to make sure that you're doing the Roth conversion appropriate amount. You can make sure you're not messing up Social Security and Medicare and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, you can have good intentions, do everything right, and then think you're doing everything right and go, oh, I'm going to withhold it or take that 10% penalty, and then your whole
and then that takes the value of it.
Save that 4%. Yeah, it's completely gone. So
and the other part too, if you do a Roth conversion and you're not paying attention to it affecting Social Security or particularly Medicare, government doesn't care. They don't care that you didn't know or that you're sorry. They're just like, oh, well, here's your new bill. You get a surcharge, and now Medicare costs twice as much as it did for you. So you got to be careful.
Next item. We covered taxes, paying taxes.
Yep, and paying it. So kind of just wrapping it up, really. Looking at some strategies. We hit on it a little bit. You can work with whomever, and it's, you could create like a ladder. They call it a ladder strategy, where you piece it out over the next 3 years. Hopefully taxes stay similar. Hopefully Congress passes something and they stay similar and this window stays open. But right now, we know the window will be open for 3 more years. After that, we just don't know. And again, I've said it. I feel like I say it every episode. Please make sure you're working with someone that knows what they're doing. There's a huge difference to say you know about something and then actually do something regularly or be an actual expert in the area. I know that I have, bones in my body and I have a tibia, but that doesn't make me a doctor, right? Like I've heard of those things, but I'm not going to perform surgery on you. And, just to give an example of this, of a client of mine, when I was first starting working with them, this is several years ago, they kind of did a test run and they let me have some of the funds to manage and do planning. Well, I did planning on their entire lives for everything. And their other advisor had a traditional IRA, and I said, hey, look, here's the taxes. I did, went through basically this entire episode of talking with them about Roth conversions, and they liked the idea and they wanted to do it. So they went and talked with their old advisor, and he's like, well, I could do Roth conversions for you too. I know what those are. Well, the problem isn't that you know what the word is. The problem is you never recommended this, and people could have been doing this, since 2018, and they were coming to see me around 2020. So, there was 3 years there of missed opportunities. So just because you know what something is doesn't mean that you're an expert or that again, all these different pieces that we talked about, you can know how to complete a Roth conversion, but if you're not analyzing all of these pieces, you can really mess up a different part of your finances and, again, lose that value of what you're trying to accomplish by saving taxes. So just either do tons of research yourself if you do it yourself, or make sure you're working with somebody who's really good and knows what they're doing. And if, even try to loop in your CPA. They're usually not high on Roth conversions because they want to have as many deductions as possible in any given year. But this is a long-term strategy, not just focusing on 1 year's worth of income.
And given that this episode is circulated around a lot of the timeliness of those laws being sunset, if we forecast, get our crystal ball out, and they decide to keep taxes the way they are and the tax brackets the way they are, me converting that money into a Roth IRA is not going to be, it's not going to be a mistake.
Correct.
So it's not going to be work for or effort for nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The only, again, I probably can't talk in guarantees like that. The biggest areas of potential mistake are not analyzing your Roth conversion well, like we've alluded to throughout this, and causing an error or a catastrophe in a different part of your taxes or financial plan, or somehow doing a Roth conversion now and then somehow taxes go down in the future. Let's ask ourselves, do we think that's going to happen? We owe tons more money than even 2017 when this was passed. Again, the government only makes money via taxes. I fail to see, is it a possibility? Sure. Because there is, who knows what those people out there.
A non-zero chance.
Exactly. But it is very small. Again, the taxes we're in collectively, these are the lowest that most of us have ever seen. So I don't think there's a very good chance that they are going to be like, hey, we went even way further in debt. Let's lower your taxes and bring in less money. Like, I just don't foresee Congress doing that. So, you're exactly right. I think best case scenario for everyone is that they extend this. And then there's if you do it now versus doing it if they extend it and taxes are the same, I'd actually argue it's still better to do it now because you have 3 years worth of tax-free growth rather than waiting and not having that, and having that growth be a part of your traditional IRA, to which the government gets part of your growth too. Like, that's what you got to remember. You're missing out on that tax-free growth part. So there really is not a lot of downside. Now, if you're a high income earner, if you're in the 30% brackets now and you're expecting to retire and income's going to go way down and you're going to be in the, even in the 20 brackets, 22, 24, I know that they're jumping up, but if you're in the 37% bracket now and the amount of money you expect to take out is going to put you in the 24% bracket at retirement, it doesn't make sense to do Roth conversions right now. But for a lot of people, it does. If you're in that 24% bracket or below, likelihood is it probably makes sense for you. But again, do your own research, talk with your own people, make sure that it does make sense for you, but definitely check in on it.
Anything else you want to add before we wrap up this episode?
Nope. I think that's good.
Well, you've convinced me, sir. The minute you say taxes or conversion, my head just, like I said, shrivels, and I go, that sounds like a job for Tanner.
I'll analyze it all for you.
So, yeah, I mean, if you feel confident enough, do it yourself, but always reach out to an expert like Tanner. So, where are we at here? We hope this episode has been helpful. If you're listening in the podcast, form, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And then don't forget to leave a comment or a question. Email us at podcast@financiallysharp.com. That's podcast@financiallysharp.com. For Tanner, I'm Adam. You'll hear us and see us in the next episode.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast does not engage in rendering legal, tax, financial, or other professional services. Investment advisory services are offered through Harmony Wealth, a registered investment advisor authorized to do business in states where registered or otherwise exempt from registration. If you have questions pertaining to your specific situation, please contact Harmony Wealth at 602-935-5155 or at harmonywealthaz.com.